But if you are always stressed and like miserable and like telling yourself that you're doing a terrible job and you're never smiling, if you don't know the last time that you laughed, like that's a problem that you want to correct today.
Welcome back to the Sensible Mama podcast. I am Paulina Westcott, your host. Very happy to be with you today. Before we get started, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with a mama that you think would enjoy it as well. Today I am joined by Brigid Tebaldi. She's a nervous system coach. Above all else, she is a mom. She does a lot of other things, but we're going to focus on that aspect of her work today because it's fascinating. Really excited for the conversation today. So why don't you just say hello, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll just dive right into it. What does that even mean?
Yeah, hi. Thanks so much for having me. I know we should have been recording because we were chatting all about farms and cities and births and all the things. And so I'm super excited to be here and just kind of see where the conversation goes. But yeah, I am Brigid. I'm a board certified health coach, fertility awareness educator, and I love the nervous system work. So I really am like that nervous system coach. And really help like those women, especially the entrepreneurial mothers, to just restore that steadiness in their body and their nervous system so that they can build the beautiful things that they're building for God, like that they can do that in a way that's not burning them out. And so we blend like the nervous system, obviously, the science of it, hormone health, theology, so that we can really get women from moving from this internal chaos more into that like deep inner safety that we're all really desiring.
Amazing. Yeah, so it's so relatable, right? Like you say, inner chaos, and I think every mother understands exactly what you're talking about. Like, I don't need to give examples. It's just, life as a mother is wild. It is incredible. It's beautiful. It's magical. It is. But it can be a lot sometimes.
Yeah. It can be hard.
And it can be hard. It can be hard. I mean, just today my boys were like, there was a moment where I was like, I just need you in a different room for a second because, like, I got to breathe and, like, just have a sip of tea and, like, just, like, be my own self for a second. And you feel that, like, the nerves in your body. It's a very physical situation. So, I mean, not to like have you download your entire, knowledge base of what do you do, but like, what do you do? What do you do in that scenario where it just gets to be too much? And then, there's like bills and, dinner needs to be made and, somebody's screaming, somebody's put poop all over the dog or whatever. And then you're like, what is happening? What do you do?
So the first thing that you really want to do is, that's the quickest thing that you want to do is remember that everything that your body is doing it's doing to try to protect you. And so like when you're in that moment and you're feeling totally fried and like you're just, maybe you find yourself snapping at your kids, or like you find that you get a phone call from your husband and you're like, what? And like you're just like, or maybe you're rage texting him, whatever it is. And you're just like not that person that you are, like that that you are, because you're just so overwhelmed and again just fried. The best thing that you can do is, again, just remember, like, this is a signal from my body. It's trying to tell me something. And now I just have to learn how to read those signals. And then eventually get to the point where it doesn't even feel the need to even express those signals because it feels so safe as is. And one other thing to note too is like, this is not a cognitive thing. This is something that is subconsciously run and is about 95% of what is running our day-to-day life is that subconscious. And so have a little bit of grace for yourself to know that like consciously you might know like this is not who I want to be. But physically and again subconsciously it's like this is who I have to be in order to stay safe. So just really recognizing that and becoming aware of that is really the first step. And then what I do with my clients is no matter what their stage of life, whether they're a stay-at-home mom, whether they're an entrepreneur with kids at home like I am with homeschooling and everything, whether they're kids have flown the nest, whatever, we always institute what we joke is like the quote union break, where every day for whatever time allotment you have available, whether it be 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes, whatever, you take a break for yourself. And this is not unreasonable. This is normal. Like if you think about whenever people go into an office job, it's normal for them to have breaks, right? It's literally legally required. And so, but us as moms, we're so hard on ourselves about it. And so we joke it's again like the union break, where maybe that union break for you is like you walk around the block. Maybe it's you sit on the porch. Like I love reading my book. So like that's my break is I sit and I read my book for 25 minutes. And then what happens then is that you kind of get into that state of like, oh, like everything's okay. And then you can come out of that break feeling so much better. And I know it can feel hard to like, I can't possibly take 25 minutes or 20 minutes to myself, but I promise you that you can. I have 5 children, we live on a farm, and I run 2 businesses. And no matter what, 3 times a day, I read my book. Okay? So I promise you, you just have to get really creative with it because your brain's going to try to tell you, like, nope, you can't do it. You can't do it.
It can be very convincing sometimes, you
So
know,
convincing.
like
Yes.
really, really convincing where it's like, you're bad. You're bad
Yes.
for wanting time to yourself. You
Yep.
should feel guilty about even thinking about the
Yep.
idea of not incessantly and continuously and without pause serving the needs of everybody else around you.
For sure. And that's one of the big differences with I don't just do nervous system regulation. We really do the repair work first. Because when you have that identity of like if I take a break, then that means that I'm bad or that I'm lazy or whatever story you're telling yourself, no matter what you try to do, you're always going to come back to that story. So we have to go back and we have to heal that part of you that believes that if you sit on the couch and your husband comes in and you're resting, then you're going to get in trouble or he's going to be mad at you or whatever. Because you learned that whenever you were little, like if you rested, and when your mom came home and she was like, why isn't the floor vacuumed? Why isn't dinner made? Why isn't like whatever? And this is not vilifying your mom or anybody. This is just stating facts and situations that I've heard before.
Mm-hmm.
Your body's going to always perceive that as like that threat until you teach it that it's not a threat anymore. So again, the nervous system regulation is huge, but we also have to do that repair work first. So yeah, that's kind of a long answer, but it's so important that you just understand your body's trying to protect you and that it's okay to take time for yourself every single day.
Yeah. I love what you said about it's a signal from your body. I talk about that a lot when it comes to birth, where I'm like,
Yeah.
contractions can feel very intense and very uncomfortable. And if you recognize what that is and what your body's trying to do and work with it,
Yeah, for
instead
sure.
of like withdrawing, and not even like on a physical level. Like I tell the difference about my 2 birth stories. With my first, I was like, oh, another
Yeah.
contraction. Oh, I don't want to do this. I can't wait until it's over, right? Physically, I was doing all the right things. I was doing the breathing and the moving and all that jazz. And it was fine. Like, it was a good home birth. There was nothing, like, wildly traumatic about it, but it was difficult.
Yeah.
With my second, I was like, yes, another contraction. This one's going to get my baby closer. And you can't lie to yourself. It's very hard to fake it to yourself, you know what I mean? And I truly, from the very first contraction, I was like, yes, all right, let's do this. Wow, that was a strong one. I'd look up at my husband and go, that was a good one. He goes, it looked like it. I was like, yeah, let's see what the next one does. You know, and I was like genuinely really into it. And I would argue it was more intense because I had no breaks. Like it was like a minute and a half between contractions from the get-go for 7
Yeah, wow.
hours. But it was so much fun, and my baby flew out of me, and I was like, what? And so what you're saying, like, is everything that I feel about birth applied to birth and beyond. Like, it applies
for
to
sure.
the rest of your life, too. Like, these signals that your body is sending you, right? So what is that? Like, can we break that down? That signal
Yeah.
that your body is sending you when all the things are going on in your household, you feel like you're losing your ever-loving mind, you want to throw something or someone, and you don't know who, and you don't know what, and you know it won't work anyway. What is that signal? Like, what is your body telling you?
Yeah, okay. So ultimately, whenever you're feeling these things, it comes to everything comes down to feeling safe. Because primitively, like that's literally what we are meant to do. And so you always hear the example of like a lion's chasing you or a bear is chasing you, and like that kicks you into that sympathetic mode so that you have to run away from the bear and whatnot. A lot of us are living in like a chronic shutdown state and like chronically just like You know what you need to do. You have the to-do list, but you look at it and you're like, I can't do any of that. Like, I just want to watch a movie. I just want to scroll on my phone. Like, you just want to check out. And that's also another state. And so if you think about like the nervous system, there's three main states, very much simplifying this. There's that shutdown state. Again, that's the one where you're like, you know what you need to do, but you're so checked out that you like can't bring yourself to do it. Or if you do it, you're like kind of emotionless through it because you just have to get it done. Then you have that like sympathetic state, that activated state, which is where you're like, everything's on fire. I need to put out all the fires. Everything feels urgent. I have to do this right now and this right now and this right now. And like, I have to do it all. And if I don't do it, then nobody's going to do it. And like, that's the feeling of like, you just can't take a breath. Mm-hmm. Even like talking about it makes me like, and then we have like the quote, I don't love saying it, but it's just the way that people resonate with it. Like that good state, which is that like, maybe things aren't going perfectly, but like everything feels okay. Like, you know that if you get a call from somebody, like you're not going to spiral. You know that if your kid has a meltdown at the store, like it's okay. And so again, everything comes down, all three of these states come down to trying to keep you safe. And that it's that sense of inner safety. And what's interesting is that so many people focus on that safety like in the moment, which is again not a bad thing. But again, subconsciously, 95% is being run by that non-thinking part of the brain, not the cognitive part of the brain. And where does that come from? That comes from the stories that we've learned throughout our life, specifically whenever we were children, especially young children, because we were imprinting off of our parents or our caregivers' nervous systems. So if they were themselves like very stressed and anxious and like projected that upon to you, then that is the story that you were taught. And again, until you go through and heal that story that you've taught and you've learned, like, it's okay that the house, I'm being very, like, ridiculous so that you get the point. Like, it's okay that the house is on fire. Like, we're all safe. Everything's okay. Like, it's a house. We'll take care of it. And you can still, like, take a deep breath. It does not, again, that was a very, like, hyperbolic example, just to give you the, like, extreme of it. It does not mean that everything is perfect all the time.
Right.
But it means that you have that capacity in order to hold everything that is going on in your life because you have this sense of safety. So whether that be with like the house burning down, it's like, it's okay. Like, I know that I'm going to be safe and I'm going to be provided for and taken care of.
I mean, your example is extreme, but it's not irrelevant because I have, like, I can think, as you were saying that, the thing that popped into my mind was, I remember a time I was at a job that was really stressful. This was before I had kids, so that was not a factor in my life. Mm-hmm. But I remember driving and I was in traffic and somebody swerved in front of me and I like I had to get off the highway, pull over to bring myself back to this world. You know what I mean? I was like, and I didn't know why it had affected me that much. And I was like, I was a little distracted by something that had happened at work. It was like really crazy. I was surrounded by people that were like, not maybe the greatest. There was just a lot of chaos, right? Mm-hmm. And that little act, I mean, like, it could life or death in the sense that, like, I could have had something bad happen. You know, you're driving, there's always a risk, whatever. Nothing bad happened. My car wasn't even, like, tapped. It was just a very sudden, like, threat to my survival, right? Yeah. And I, like, flipped out. Fast forward, so I've done a lot of work on myself over the years. I've become a much happier, much calmer person. I'm not perfect by any stretch. I have my moments. I needed my time today to go drink my tea, but, you know, it was fine. But I was driving yesterday, literally yesterday. I was driving back home, and out of nowhere, a tractor trailer swerves like inches in front of my car. I had my kids in the back seat. I had a friend of mine in the passenger seat. Swerves across in front of me, cuts across into the thing, and, like, my friend was like, oh, what happened, right? And I was like, oh, that was unsafe. And I just kept driving and picked up with the story that I was telling her. And I was thinking about that later, and I was like, that was worse than that first example. And I'm like, in the real world, nothing was different. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, the situation was the same, different cars, but same exact scenario. What changed was me, right? Yep.
For sure.
And so the signals are coming from your body, but I assume that what you work on with people is not the physical nervous system, although that I'm sure plays a role, but like if the same scenario can happen to the same person in two different time periods, like what's the difference? It's that work. It's that figuring out like your life and your past and all these things, right?
Yeah, and there's two things to mention there. One thing is the goal with this work is not to have everything be perfect, because it's not going to be. Like, it's life. And we are fallen people living in a fallen world. Like, things are going to happen. So the goal is not perfection. The goal with this work is to be able to get into one of those, because you had like a micro activated state. That's just a physiological thing that happens whenever there's a stress. Like, it's just like
my heart did that little thing,
Exactly. But so you did go into that activated state, but because of the work that you've done, it was able to flip back to that, like, again, quote, good state very quickly. The issue with this is that whenever people go into those states, either the shutdown or the activated sympathetic state, they get stuck there.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to flip back and forth. Because again, it's normal to go from like good to activated, back to good to shutdown to whatever.
Yeah.
It's, again, do you have the skills to go back and forth? And are you spending the majority of the time in that ventral vagal, that good state? That's the goal of it, is most of the time. Because otherwise, that's whenever we get the weight gain, the acne, everything like that, because those are our body. That's our body expressing that it doesn't feel safe enough in order to go through the normal physiological processes of maybe detoxing. So then you get acne, or then you get bloating, or whatever like that. And so it's all super connected. So it's, we can't just focus on like everything has to be perfect all the time, because it's not going to be. We have to focus.
I'm pretty sure that would stress me out far more.
We have to be that rubber band that can stretch back and forth and not break. And then the other thing too, just to give you a little bit of an example, is I really got into this work after I did a lot of work with birth trauma clients after my own traumatic birth. And then I found like, oh, this is actually all just nervous system responses. And so then I shifted into this because I just love it so much. And what I always would, and I still have birth trauma clients too, but what I always say is like, the goal is not to forget what happened to you. Right. Because your child was born, like, or whatever monumental moment it was, like, you don't want to forget that happened. We have to change the way that your body perceives how it happened. And to do that takes some work, especially working with somebody who knows how to do this, and to change those memories, or change the perception of those memories. And then once you've done that, you'll be able to drive past the hospital, or you'll be able to go to the baby shower, not like feel like, oh, why did mine have to turn out like this? Or you'll be able to do whatever. And it won't make you forget it, but again, it'll make you respond differently. And I always say it's kind of like when you first read a book to your kids, it's like exciting and you're like, what's going to happen? And it's kind of gives you that like rush a little bit. But when you've read that book a million times, you're just like, I love reading my kids' books, but like I'm really I'm over this one. And that's sort of the feeling that you get whenever you process these difficult, again, births or whatever that you've been through, where again, you don't forget it, but you already know how it ends. And so you process it. You're not worried about the ending. You know, moving forward, like maybe you're going to do something different, or maybe you, whatever. So those are the two big things to remember too, is like, there's no perfection, and the goal is to get your body to not to forget the memory, but to perceive it differently.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's so much about it. Like, I probably am so obnoxious to my friends and my poor husband, who just has to hear about birth all the time because that's all that's ever on my mind. But I'm like, I treat so many things in life the way I do birth, because there are so many parallels.
Oh my goodness, yes.
There was one real, I think you mentioned something along, the way you said it just like hit me, and I was like, yes, that's exactly right. And you said something like labor is a mirror.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I wanted to kind of dive into that, because you put words to a thought that I try to express, and sometimes I convey, and other times not so much, but people are like, oh, I'm going to prepare for birth. I'm going to do the stretches and I'm going to eat the dates and I'm going to
Yeah.
whatever. And then stuff happens and maybe it doesn't go according to plan, or maybe it goes badly, or maybe it goes okay, or maybe it went fine but the perception of it was bad. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many variables, and it really is a reflection. I'd love to hear more, you expand on that idea.
Yeah, for sure. So I think I first heard that from Lindsay from BirthFit, where she said, like, we birth how we live.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so true because, again, you can do all of, like, the quote, like, good physical things, and they're definitely going to help you, for sure. Like, definitely going to help. The stretching, the nutrition, like, all of it's going to help you. But birth is such, and life. Again, it's so parallel. It's such a mind game too,
Yeah.
where if you are seeing everything from the lens of like, this is out to get me, I've done something wrong, I am bad, like, I shouldn't even try, you're going to do everything like that.
Yeah.
Because how you do anything is how you do everything. That's one of the things we're like drilling into our kids. Versus if you go in to birth or life where you're like, I'm gonna try my best, and like, no matter what, like, I know that I'm gonna do my best, and I'm gonna try hard, and like, and that's gonna be good enough because I'm gonna leave it all out there. And like, if you go into birth like that, then you're gonna come out of it thinking like, I did everything that I could, and even if it didn't end up the way that I wanted it to end up, like, I can be mad about that. But it's not because I left anything on the table. It's because, like, who knows what happened, whatever situation. Same thing with life, where it's like, if you go into life or business or whatever, and you're like, I'm going to leave it all out there. And if it goes well, amazing, like, I did my best. If it doesn't go well, then, like, all work works. It's either working on you or for you. And that's a hard lesson to learn, but, like, it's super important. And
I
so
think
it's
it is a hard lesson to learn, but I think that once you learn it, it is so
oh my goodness, it changes
remunerative.
everything.
It makes
Yes.
life so much more
Yes.
fun. And I want to put a pin, like, I want you to finish your thought, but I want to go into that aspect of it a little bit more.
No, I think that what you were just saying is perfect because it is so true. When you get that shift, and again, I do everything from like a faith-based perspective. So whenever we go into like the lies and the truths, and so whenever somebody comes to me and they're like, I'm lazy, I'm not worth it. Actually, I just had a client last night and she was talking about how she just had her 7th baby. She wants to restart her business. It was like super successful before. She wants to get back into it. But she's like, I'm a mom of 7 kids now. Like, I can't do this. It's not going to be worth it. Why should I even bother? And so I was like, so what is the lie that the enemy is telling you right now? And so she just repeated what she had originally told me. And instead of just saying like, okay, how can we combat that? It's like, now what's the opposite? Like, what is the truth that God's telling you? And you can choose to believe either one, but you're believing one of them, and you're believing the one that you don't want to believe, and it's going to lead you down that path that like you don't want to go down.
Yeah.
And so she flipped it, and she was like, I can still do this even though I'm a mom. And because I'm a mom, it gives me even more resources because I can show my kids how to do this. I can show my kids how to build businesses, how to provide like all these things, how to be creative, everything like that. And so that was then the truth that she was telling herself. So again, it's the same in birth.
I got chills. I got chills as you said that.
If you're like, once a C-section, always a C-section, or my hips are too small, so I, like the doctor said, I can't give birth vaginally. I just heard that from somebody, and I was like, ugh. But I digress. And if like that's the story that you're telling yourself, then that's what's going to happen, and you're going to be probably angry about it because you weren't even offered that opportunity to show how incredible your body is and your baby is. And so we just need to, whatever lie you're telling yourself, if it's negative, like, that is the lie. And you have to replace that, whether you're a Christian or not. You have to replace that with the truth of like, maybe you're 5 foot and your husband's 8 foot 12 inches or I guess 9 feet or whatever. He's double your height. But like, your body's likely not going to grow a baby that's like 30 inches long and like 15 pounds. So like, let's give it the benefit of the doubt, you know? So
Right.
it's just, it's a total mindset shift that affects everything in your life.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm not a Christian. I believe in God. I am religious. I agree with everything you just said. Like,
Hmm.
if you tell yourself, I can't fill in
Yes.
the blank, I can't
Gonna do
start a
everything.
business, I
Yeah.
can't have a podcast, I can't help other women, I can't do this and be a mom,
Then you're not going
okay?
to.
Then you're not gonna. You're not gonna. And if you
Yeah.
tell yourself, I can, so here's where it was the most difficult for me because I went through this whole thing where I was like very, very convincingly telling myself a lot of lies about myself. I'm
And
not
it's
good
so
enough.
easy.
It's so
Just to
easy.
normalize that, it's so easy to do that. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah. It's okay. So I went through this and I really worked on this. And then the thing that I kept hitting up against, the thing that like I couldn't quite get past was, but what if something bad does happen? Like that is a real possibility. So
Yeah.
I can whatever, but something bad might happen. Something might
Yes.
break. I might meet somebody terrible who is out to get me and they try to destroy my life. Like, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe a bear
Yeah.
comes out of the woods and tries to eat my head. I don't know. Like, these things could happen.
Yeah.
And the thing that really shifted it for me was I like assessed those past bad things that happened to me. And I had this beautiful, like, restructuring of
Yes.
those past things where I was like, okay, that sucked.
Yeah.
That person did a bad thing to me and I didn't like it. But because of that experience, I met so and so. That connected me to that, put my feet on this path, and now
Yep.
look where I am. Like, what?
Yes.
And then I did that for like all of these things that were so negative and they were so
Yeah.
awful. And I was like, hold up. Like, I've been through some nonsense, but if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't have ended up here. Or
Yes.
because of that, I made this connection, or I decided to try that, or I left this and started that, and new jobs, weird ventures. And then I'm like 30 and, having a kid, and I'm starting to think, oh, did I start too late? And I was like, no, this is perfect, And it started becoming easier for me to go,
Yes.
okay, I'm going to try something crazy. Oh, I'm making a mistake right now. This is exciting because I can do something about this mistake. Because of that mistake, I can make a new connection. I can change the path of my adventure. It is such a choose your own adventure game. And as soon as you realize that that's what it is, that when you hit an impasse, you have the freedom to go and do another thing. And that's the beautiful thing about impasses, that they stop you from going down a path that's going to fail, right?
Yeah. And that's actually a nervous system response, which is great that you mentioned that. We can tie everything back.
Yeah.
And because whenever you get to the point where you're like, I really believe, well, let's just stick with birth, for example. I really believe that like my body is capable of giving birth. But I'm also, and let's say you're having a home birth. So I really believe that this is the best place for me to be. But I'm also a little bit nervous, like if I hemorrhage, what's going to happen? And so what some people do is they just block it out entirely. And they're like, nope, not thinking about that. And that does work for some people, just because like statistically, like not every single person is going to hemorrhage. And so it does work in that capacity statistically. Now, if you really wanted to actually, quote, like fix that thought, what you do is exactly what you just mentioned, where you have to get your cognitive brain to kind of close that loop that you've been telling yourself. And so if you have that fear of like, but what if I hemorrhage? But you also have this thing of like, I believe I can do it. It creates a lot of cognitive dissonance, and your brain is like, which one do I pick? Do I believe that I can do it, or do I latch onto this one? A lot of people latch onto the one, like the negative one, like the what if. And they kind of hold on to this, like, I believe I can do it, but they don't fully embrace it. And so what you have to do to get rid of that cognitive dissonance, because otherwise your brain's just going to like keep circling, and it's kind of in that position where it's like, when you haven't made a decision, it's like the worst feeling ever, because it's like, I just need to make the decision. And then once you make it, you're like, oh, it feels so much better.
Yes.
And so the nervous system response is for a lot of people to just kind of stay in that like that mode of like, you can't take that deep breath because you're always thinking about this thing over here. And in order to close it, you have to get your cognitive brain to acknowledge what if. And it can be really scary to acknowledge some of those what ifs. And this is one of the big things that I do with, again, birth trauma clients, where they come in and they're like, I had this hemorrhage, it could happen again. And we're like, it could happen again. What if it does?
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, it comes up with like, I could die. What if you die? And then it kind of just like goes through that. And it sounds kind of crude and crass to like say it like that.
Yeah,
But
but there's
whenever-
something to it.
There is, because whenever you just cognitively think like, oh, like, I don't know, what if? Then you actually kind of see, you answer your own question. And it gives you at least a piece. I'm not saying that like it makes it easier necessarily, but it gives you your brain that piece of like, oh, I do know the answer. So I can hold these two things at the same time and not have them fighting back and forth. I can believe that I am capable and strong, and I can also have this like somewhat rational or irrational, depending on the person, fear that something could go wrong.
Yeah.
But when you've gone through that cognitive process and linked it to that subconscious and said like, yeah, these things could happen, and if they do, then we know what's going to happen after that. And that's a huge thing to do, and a lot of people again don't do it. They stay in that like space of angst, and that makes things even feel worse, and then you question yourself, and then you're like, you don't want to make decisions, and then you go into them at the shutdown or the activated states. And so it's this loop that you just have to close. And it sounds like you've been super intentional about it, which is amazing. A lot of us don't have that skill, or they haven't been taught that skill yet, because it is a skill. And so if that's you and you're like always kind of holding these two things, whether it be around birth or life or anything, like you have to close that loop, because otherwise you're just going to keep making your brain tired and being in one of those states that's not going to get you to the place that you want to be.
And it's interesting because I feel like you can also have compartments of your life where you react differently. Like to me now, birth, I'm like, oh, I'll give another example because for some people birth is not this way, but driving a car, right? There are no guarantees in life. There are risks to eating a peanut, walking downstairs, playing in this, like you name it, there's a risk. There's just, that's literally existing. You're at risk.
Yeah.
So people are like, oh, home birth is so risky. And I'm like, so is,
Relative
I don't know. Exactly. But most of us, again, there are some people who don't, but most of us, we get into a car, we put on our seatbelt, we start the
don't think
car,
twice.
we drive. And we avoid the crazy people on the road, and we stop at the stop signs, and we either drive the speed limit or we don't, and we're making all these calculations, you know what I mean, of, yes, we are aware that there's a risk. We have the eye on the crazy driver on the highway that's like 7 cars ahead, and we're like, oh, we're going to avoid him, we're going to pass him quickly. Like, we're making these constant calculations of how do I mitigate, risk and try to get to my destination safely without putting myself in a bubble suit and staying home, always drinking filtered water and breathing filtered air. You know what I mean? Like, you could get really crazy about it. So driving for most people is like, well, yeah, of course. But like, I know what I'm doing, and the chances are low that that anything bad will happen. But then we take another chapter of our lives, be it birth, starting a new business. For me, I thought entrepreneurs were absolutely bananas. I was like grateful that entrepreneurs existed in this world, and I was like, not me, not ever. I will forever be working a 9-to-5 for someone else. And then I had kids, and I just became a whole totally different person, and now here I am. But like, whether it's having a baby, getting married, starting a new job, starting your own business, giving up on one career path and starting a new one, like any sort of like major change like that, doesn't feel the same as getting into a car and going for a drive.
Yep.
Even though technically,
Oh my goodness.
it's not that different.
Yeah. I mean, that's huge, because it's just it's these stories that we tell ourselves, and it's what we identify with. And so if you grew up getting in the car from the time that you were literally like a day old, or whenever you got in the first car until now, you're going to think that that's just normal and that's just what we do. But say that you came here and you were like in a horse-drawn carriage and you saw a car for the first time and they were like, get in the car, we're going to go somewhere. The person would probably be like, what is that thing? It goes way too fast. That is dangerous. Like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And so again, we have to just reflect upon these stories that we tell, like that we tell ourselves, and also reflect upon how we were raised. Again, not from a judgmental, like right or wrong standpoint, but just from that neutral, like this is what I learned. This is what I was taught. And this is why I behave certain ways and why I act certain ways. It really takes a lot of self-reflection and also that radical responsibility in order to make these changes. Because it is not easy to go from being the person who is like, I work with a lot of like, quote, like the good girls who were the ones to always get A's, who were like the ones who always took care of things. They're the responsible ones. And again, none of those things are inherently bad. But when you're doing them from a place of you're doing them to perform because you inherently feel like if you don't, then things are you're gonna get yelled at, or you're gonna be told that like you're not smart enough or whatever it is, then that's the issue that you want to focus on. Because again, the qualities that you likely have right now are good qualities, but are they coming from a place of like empowerment and like, wow, I can do this, and like I am so strong and like capable? Or are they coming from a place of like, I have to do this because otherwise I'm afraid of the consequences? You know what I mean? And a lot of that comes from like that, a lot of what women feel nowadays is like that desire for control, and especially around birth, where they want that control because they want to know how things work. They want to know how things are going to end. They want to know what's going to happen. That's why like we have an incredible amount of eating disorders nowadays and anxiety and everything, because it feels like, again, the eating disorder, I had one for 5 years, so like I know what it feels like. That is a way to try to control things because that makes us feel safe to have that control. In birth, maybe somebody chooses to have, I don't know, a planned C-section or a hospital birth or a home birth or whatever it is, and unless they've done a lot of this work, they might be choosing those things because it makes them feel like they're in control. And again, in some capacity, that's good to be like the one in the driver's seat for birth. Yeah. But are we doing it from a place of fear, or are we doing it from a place of like, this is what I want?
Right.
Like, whatever the decision is, like, this is what is going to make me feel like the best version of myself. I know the pros, cons, informed consent, all the things. Because again, ultimately that control, it all goes back to that inner safety, where if you feel like you have to grab on and control things, there's an element of you that doesn't feel safe, whether that be around birth, finances, the car, whatever. Like there's that element of safety that is super important for us to keep in mind.
Yeah, you mentioned radical responsibility. So I love this. What is the meaning of radical responsibility? And then let's talk about it.
Well, I don't remember the etymology. I did look that up a couple of years ago, like the actual where the words come from. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But essentially, to me at least, if we break those down, radical is like crazy. Again, very much simplified. I don't have the dictionary in front of me.
That's okay. I'm here to hear your thoughts on it.
So radical is just like crazy. You're taking charge, like you're doing it your way, and then responsibility is making sure that you're carrying things, and like that you are the one who is not responsible. That's annoying to define the word, but the one who is basically like carrying everything. And so if you morph those together, it's that idea of like, I'm going to be responsible for myself. I'm going to take ownership, even if things don't go the way that I hope that they went.
Yes.
And even if they go sideways, it's okay. I can get mad at it, like I mentioned, but it doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. It doesn't mean that I made a bad decision. It means that we're humans in life, and things don't always go as we planned. Right. And so it's huge that we are able to recognize that and to really hold that. Because it's hard, because you never want to be the one to make a mistake, because somebody could get hurt physically, emotionally. You could really damage something, whatever. But like, if you can start to do that in every aspect of your life, whether it's just like admitting that you forgot to pay a bill, or admitting that you forgot to, I don't know, send a birthday card, or like whatever silly thing is, like even those little things can be radically responsible, because it's so easy to just tell like those little white lies of like, oh, I'm so sorry, like it got lost in the mail. When in reality, it's like, I just forgot. I'm so sorry. I'm going to put it in the mail today. Like, I was thinking about you. I just forgot it was your birthday. there's just a different element there, and you're going to take ownership of it. And if you can do that, just like we were talking about earlier, like you're going to do it in every area of your life. And that's huge.
It's really interesting to me because sometimes I feel like it sounds like a contradiction, and it's not, where I'm like, birth is not necessarily something that you can control.
No.
I wish I could say it was.
Yeah.
But then at the same time and in the same breath, I tell people I want you to be in the driver's seat of your birth. And so people are like, talk about cognitive dissonance, like, well, am I or am I not in control? Which one is it? I can't have both, you know?
It's confusing. But
the fact of the matter is, both are true. Like, and it's what you're talking about in life too. Like, I may make a bad decision. I might do something really, really dumb that has terrible consequences. But it was me. And I did that, and I was in the driver's seat. And I also, maybe I'm just a really aggressive optimist. I don't know. I think it's my responsibility to be happy and optimistic for both myself and also for my children, because the other end of this spectrum is just miserable and terrible, and no thank you. And maybe it's just because I'm very optimistic, but I'm like, I believe that I am a capable person, that I am a good person, that I want the best, and that I will make the best decision that I can in the moment with the information that I have.
Exactly. Yep.
And I will do everything that I can to have all of the information that I think I need in that moment to make the best decision possible. Sometimes I will lack information. It's going to happen. It's happened before. I'm sure it's going to happen again, where I will make a decision lacking information and it'll be the wrong decision. But I know with full conviction that I am a good person that wants to do good, and I will do good as much as possible when given the opportunity and the chance and the knowledge with which to do that good, right? And I'm like, again, that's not something that has come naturally to me. That is something that I worked on a lot, where I was like, no, I'm bad. I'm just a bad person. I did bad things, and I just do bad things everywhere I go. It's just bad, you know? And that's just not a pleasant way to live. It's just not fun.
Not. But what you're describing is, again, that like inner sense of deep like safety, where it's like, you know that you're a good person, even if you do something that's really dumb. Like, you've been taught from your relationships and like your own work that you are a good person. You have that evidence. And so, again, you just have this feeling of everything's going to be okay. Like, because I'm safe, I'm taken care of. Like, you know what I mean? And like, that's huge. And then the other thing too is, I actually was working on this with another client last week, where, again, I work with a lot of Christian women, so they can come. A lot of them come in and they think like, if I'm miserable, then that means that I'm holy, and then therefore like that's good, because that means I'm suffering and like everything like that. And it's like, that is not true. Regardless of if you're Christian or not, like, you are not here to be miserable.
Right.
Like, you are here to be joyful and to spread that joy to everybody else. And yes, there's going to be times, because again, we're not perfect, where it's like, maybe life feels really hard and you're like not that joyful person.
Yeah.
But again, the goal is the majority of the time to be that person, because that's how you're going to continue on this road of like forging forward and like showing your children how to be good people and like to help others. And like, that joy is so important. And it's something that I actually do with all my clients, where I'm like, what made you joyful whenever you were 10 years old? And you're going to do one of those things. And so another client this week, we were like, what made you joyful? And she was like, I used to love going for walks and playing hopscotch. And it was like, well, guess what you're going to do tonight? Like, and she lives in Florida, so like, thankfully it's warm outside all the time. So she literally went outside, and she sent me a Voxer message at night, and she was like, here's my hopscotch. My husband and I played hopscotch for like 20 minutes. And she was like, it felt ridiculous at first, but then we were laughing, and it was like, she was like, it was so much fun. And it was like, that is what it means to be joyful, is like to do those things that light you up, because that's what's going to make everything in your life flourish, because you're going to feel safe. Your nervous system is literally going to regulate itself. And it's just like, it's so good, so important.
I'm going to add a plug here, a shameless plug for people to have kids for this reason. Having kids is so much work. It's like
Yeah.
crazy different. You have to like readjust your whole life. You have to really work on yourself, make sure you're good. Like there's a lot that goes behind it.
For sure.
But there is something so incredible about living life as a parent to, I mean, I'm in the toddler stage right now, so I'm going to say toddlers.
Mm-hmm.
I went sledding with my 4-year-old
Oh.
a couple weeks ago. I don't know when the last time was I went sledding. I have no idea.
It's like so fun.
We got those like stupid little circular saucers, you know, like cheap whatever Walmart saucer. We got 2 of them so we could race. He was like scared about it at first, and I'm like, I'll go first. And I went. He was like, I want to go, and we're like going down these like crazy. We had snow piles that are taller than like 2 me's, you know, like it was crazy. And I had a blast, and it was like, it wasn't performative. I wasn't pretending to have fun for his sake. I was having so much fun. And I was like, I want to see if I can get some air. So we like built a little jump to see if I could, and I like hurt my butt. I didn't care. My fingers were numb. I'm like, I sent my 2-year-old was like, I've had enough. This is too cold.
Yeah.
I sent him inside with my husband. My toddler and I kept like going down. I was like, this is so much fun.
Yes.
I'm like building crazy ships with them with magnet tiles, and you know, as an adult to do that as an adult is sometimes feels a little silly, and it's hard to get into it, but like
that play is so important.
and they love it because I get into it, and then like mom's into it, so like heck yeah, let's do this, you know. And we build stuff out of clay. We made like chicken soup the other day out of Play-Doh. You know, I made chickens and he chopped up the chickens, and I made carrots and he chopped up the carrots, and I was like, I sometimes I'll like read a book and I'm like, okay, this is a book, whatever. But like, I really try, like when I'm playing with them, I try to like really be in the moment and play with them. And it's so fun and it's so rewarding. And it is so unlike any other chapter of my life. So I just wanted to put that in as a plug. Go have lots of kids. It is just so fun.
Well,
it's so fun.
And if you need another reason too, that this is why this joy in having kids is so important, there's a literal physiological reason for like that it's so important. Because whenever you are joyful, your dopamine and oxytocin, serotonin, are going to get higher. Mm-hmm. What that means is that your cortisol, your stress hormone, gets lower. When your cortisol gets lower, your sex hormones can work properly, which means that the acne, the weight gain, the infertility, like all of these things start to calm down because the cortisol is not sky high. But if you are always stressed and like miserable and like telling yourself that you're doing a terrible job and you're never smiling, if you don't know the last time that you laughed, like that's a problem that you want to correct today. Like go watch something funny, go do something ridiculous, whatever. Because when your oxytocin and dopamine are low because you're so stressed and like overwhelmed all the time, that's going to keep your cortisol super high. And then that's going to like suppress all those sex hormones. And so if you're dealing with any sort of physical issue right now, instead of trying to fix like your progesterone or your estrogen or whatever, look a little bit simpler. Like think, when was the last time I laughed? And if it's been a while, then like go laugh every day.
I have advice for people who don't know how to laugh.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Start laughing. You'll start laughing. Like, no, seriously, like, I know somebody was like, I can't laugh, and I was like, just start laughing. They're like, ha ha, ha, ha ha. And then you just sound so ridiculous that you have to laugh, especially if you have somebody else there with you. You're just like, what am I doing? And it's really fun. It's very therapeutic.
The ha-ha game. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Mm-mm.
We played it in college where you need quite a group of people, but you lay down and then you put your head on somebody's belly and like chain like that, like somebody's head on your belly, and then you continue. And the first person that does like ha, and then the second person does like ha ha, and then the third person ha ha ha, and you only usually get like 3 or 4 in, because then you're like, this is so ridiculous, because like heads are bouncing and it's like it's so fun. So just like,
but this is the stuff. It's so great. Silliness and goofiness is where it's at, man. If life were just always serious, it would be so miserable. Who wants to live like that, you know?
Yeah, and you want to remember who you are too. Like even if you're a mom, like it's important that Brigid remembers who Brigid is, right? Like Paulina remembers who Paulina is, because obviously you're going to grow and change and everything, but you don't want to forget at your core who you are, because then you're not going to be able to bring that uniqueness, that like who is you, to your kids and your relationships. right? Like it's so
It's
important.
also okay not to know and just to work on
Oh my
finding
goodness.
out. Like I didn't
Yes,
know for a
for
really
sure.
long time. There were some parts of me that I was like, okay, this I like to help people, you know.
Yeah, for
I like
sure.
to make people happy and whatever. But I was working like a software job that was like,
Hmm.
you know, whatever.
Yeah.
I had a couple other jobs in between, and I'm like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Is this who I am? Is this
Mhm.
what I love? Is this
Yeah.
do I have a passion? I had no hobbies. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. And it took some time, and then, you know, I became a mom, and suddenly I found myself obsessed with birth, and it brought me so much. I don't even want to say joy because it is joy, but what it brought to me was a source of endless interest.
Hmm.
And it's
Yes.
something like it wasn't work. I was I was listening to audiobooks about birth just
Hmm.
because it was fascinating. I was watching podcasts just
Yeah.
because I wanted to hear. I was hearing things from the perspectives that I disagreed with and things from the perspective that I agreed with, and like crazy like people who are free birthing, and I was like, those people are bananas. And I started really like listening to these people, and I'm like, okay, I respect it. I actually see what you mean. I'm talking to like obstetricians, and I'm like, what are you doing? You know?
Yeah.
And and it's become this like fire where you know, I was telling you before we hit record, I was just having a rough day. I'm like on my period, everything is just whatever. But like this is part of that me time for me where I get to talk
Yeah.
to somebody about these subjects that I'm so passionate about, and you can tell like
Yeah.
I'm having a great time. Like this brings me so much joy. And it took me a long time to find this. And so
Yeah.
I
So
also
don't
just
give
want
up.
to like don't give it up. Don't stop. And if you're not finding it yet, that's also okay.
Hmm.
Figure it out. Just work on figuring it out, you know.
Yeah.
And who knows what path that leads you down. You literally never know.
Yeah. One of the biggest things with that is creating. And this doesn't mean an artist. Like, I am not an artist. Like,
Same.
I am not like the typical creative.
I make really cute babies, and I consider that my aesthetic. I consider that to be my aesthetic contribution to this world.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
But like being creative in whatever capacity. Maybe that's painting. Maybe that's making podcasts. Maybe that's coding software, whatever it is. Like creating is going to really start to show you like who am I? Like what do I like to do? And then it also gives you that added layer of like wow, like I did this because there's nothing better than whenever even if you just like do a really great painting that's like the size of a post-it note, but you look at it and you're like this is beautiful, like I did that. Or maybe it's like that you write a book and it's like gets on Times Square or whatever, or you have a child, whatever it is, like there's something after you create where you're like wow, like I did that, like nobody else did that, I did that. And that is that added boost of like I am worthy, I can do good things. Like so yeah, if you're struggling with like who are you, I would really encourage you to go create something because that also is super regulating for your system, and it's going to really help you to figure out like what is it that you like, what is it you don't like, where's your talents lie. And like again, I'm not a crafter, I don't really love crafting, and so I don't create that way, but like I love writing, I love like talking to people, and that's still being creative. So like find what makes you creative, even if it's hard and like scary at first. Like lean into it, just do
That
it
is
anyway.
such great advice. I love that. Like, fiery passion. Love that. I feel like I could talk to you forever, and probably we should do another episode because
Yeah,
we
there's
have
much.
so many topics here that we could, you know, dive
Yeah.
down rabbit holes for hours. But I think we'll wrap it here for this one. This was such a great chat. I'm so glad we connected. Where can people find you?
Yeah, so you can find me at lorettowellness.com. That's just LORETO wellness.com. Mostly I'm on Instagram, though, at Brigid.Tebaldi. And then I also do have a podcast called the Discerning Mother Podcast, so you can find me anywhere there. But I would love for anybody to reach out if you have questions, or if you're like, who's this person who loves birth but also loves nervous system and loves parenthood and like all this stuff, like just would love to connect.
I love it. Thank you so much. This was such a wonderful chat. The hour flew by in like seconds.
Thank you so much. See you next time.
Absolutely. See you guys.